This is Dr. Rob Van Bergen, and welcome to today's Monday 10-minute training. Today, I'm going to be talking about polycystic ovarian syndrome, or PCOS, and how microcurrent can help. Now, we have been asked to cover this topic by the community, and so here we are. Now, PCOS is a hormonal disorder common among women of reproductive age. So women with this may have infrequent or prolonged menstrual periods or excess male hormone levels. And the ovaries may develop numerous small little fluid follicles, and they'll eventually fail to release eggs on a regular schedule. So signs and symptoms of this condition often develop around the time of the first menstrual period during puberty. But regardless of when it occurs, common signs and symptoms include irregular periods. So this is infrequent, irregular, or prolonged menstrual cycles. These are the most common signs of this condition. For example, someone might have fewer than 8 or 9 periods a year. And may spend more than 35 days between periods and have abnormally heavy periods. There's also excess androgen. This is another common sign. So elevated levels of these male hormones can result in physical signs showing up in the body. Excess facial and body hair, for example, and occasionally severe acne, even male pattern baldness can impact women with PCOS. Then, of course, there's the polycystic ovaries. So ovaries might become enlarged. They might contain follicles that surround the eggs. As a result, the ovaries might eventually fail to function regularly. So both the potential to get the condition and the severity of the condition can be influenced heavily by being overweight or by having diabetes. There's also a lot of research that shows that contracting this condition or having this condition can be influenced by DNA. So we're looking at a genetic level. And then there's also just inflammation in the body can cause this as well. So what do we do to help people struggling with PCOS? Well, there are a few protocols, but the first and foremost suggestion that I have to make is to get on an anti-inflammatory diet. Now, this often varies for individuals. There's very rarely a time where I'm just use this diet. But if you're looking for a good example, the Mediterranean diet is a great template to use. It's very anti-inflammatory, and this is largely because it has a big focus on omega-3 fatty acids. So in this case, in this sort of anti-inflammatory diet, you'll eat mostly plant-based foods like fruits and vegetables, potatoes, whole grains, beans, nuts, seeds, lots of extra virgin olive oil, and meals tend to be planned around these foods. The diet does also include moderate consumption of lean poultry, fish and seafood, dairy, and eggs. But obviously, we're avoiding red meat, which is a very high inflammatory food. So once the diet is in place, systemic inflammation will be reduced and overall health will be increased. And this is going to dramatically increase the success rate of the microcurrent treatments, because if you're not dealing with the underlying root cause, you're not going to be able to move forward on that condition. So the following protocols are what I recommend. Okay. So first off is scalar energy. And if you've been following us around for a while now, you're going to know all about the power of scalar and how it has the ability to influence DNA repair. Now, when we're talking about a condition that has a genetic component, this always means to me that the scalar is going to play a role. The scalar also has benefits in reducing inflammation, normalizing the systems in the body, including the pancreas. So for people who have diabetes, that again is a precursor to PCOS. Being able to influence the pancreas and its insulin production, regulating that can really help to stabilize this condition as well. So when you include all these things in the basket, well, scalar lines up perfectly with this condition. And simply holding the scalar over the uterus and running it on 7 to 12 hertz at maximum power is probably going to be enough to initiate some incredibly strong change in the condition. So I'd highly recommend this be done daily for optimum results, really only needing 5 to 10 minutes a day. And remember, it's done at rest. You're not sitting there actively treating. Now, the next one is the gynecological protocol. This protocol, as gynecological zones, is not what it sounds. People often think it involves the vaginal electrode. It does not. It is a gridding protocol, much like the abdominal, much like 3 pathways. And this protocol can only really be done effectively with the pinnacle because you need to be able to take readings. This will allow you to analyze tissues in the area and determine these kind of high points of inflammation that could be impeding or impacting energy flow. Now, this should be or could be done weekly. You don't have to do this part of the protocol, but I think it's a very strong piece. Let's take a look at the protocol here. So I have here a copy of the page from Current Medicine 3, which is about to be released as it stands in an ebook form today. Now, this may be a little hard to read here, but I'm going to run through it briefly for you guys. So essentially, if you look at that grid that you've got at the bottom of the page there, and you can see at the top, we're saying really just the pinnacle and the pro sport can use this. Well, this is because we want to be able to take those readings. Now, we follow a rule here, for those of you familiar with the gridding protocols, where we say higher than 1, so 1 or higher. With 3 pathways, we're looking for 4 or higher a reading. What this means is that when we're taking the readings, we're caring about them enough that if they're 1 higher, we want to stop, we want to take a reading, we want to get an ongoing reaction, and we want to grid that through. This protocol looks more complicated than it is. It's a very small area over the uterus, so it doesn't take a huge amount of work to actually do it. And then there's some additional points on the end as well, where you're treating these different points on the neck and on the legs and feet that help wrap the protocol up. Realistically, the protocol grid is the size of the palm of your hand. It's not very big at all. So you can imagine I think we've got 7 on the top, 7 on the bottom. It doesn't even often end up being that much. But you just want to do that grid and grid it out. If you're really interested in learning about gynecological zones, or called hand or palm, there's not really the time to go through it in depth on this video, but I wanted to show you, for those of you watching, that this is the main protocol. It is in the new Current Medicine book, which again, the ebook should go out today, and the book is going to publishing today as well. So super excited about that. Also, I believe we have training videos on that in the Hache protocol if you really want to dive deeper into it than just a cursory glance today. Now, the last thing to wrap up the treatment protocol is scar tissue. So there's always the potential for scar tissue when treating internal systems. And because of that, it's well worth trying to manage that using 77 hertz or deep 77 to paint over the uterus for at least 3 minutes. This breaks up active zones. Now, with PCOS, we can't expect an overnight change, but with the proper care and nourishment of the body and the assistance of microcurrent therapy, we can move to affect real change in the condition. All right, everyone, thank you for joining me today for today's Monday 10-minute training. If you have any questions, post them in the comments below. Otherwise, I will see you next week for another one of these wonderful trainings. Thank you and have a great week. Bye-bye.